And that's the thing. Like we as human beings, we tend to overcomplicate things. We make things
Yeah,
so much harder than they really are. And
yeah.
it goes back to our mentality. It's not that difficult. We're making it difficult because it scares us, because it may be stressing us out a little bit, but it really is that simple. And the thing I like about the SWOT analysis is that it breaks things up. So you're not
Mm.
looking at this massive pile of, oh my gosh, where do I start? It's already broken up. Now you approach things as needed.
Hello and welcome to the Vana room. Monique and
Yay.
I are going to be taking on this episode because we are talking about the SWOT analysis, SWOT. And for those who are not familiar with it, it stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And
Correct.
this is a really, really good analysis to jump in and really analyze your career and even your personal life on what you're doing to make better and clearer decisions so that you can hopefully achieve your goals much quicker and more efficiently. Mo is the expert on this, so I'll pass it over to her and I'll just kind of pop in with questions and maybe some clarifications if needed. And we'll just kind of get right into it.
All right, so let's do that. So we're going to start with the S, which is the strengths. And so when we talk, well, let me back up for a second. When we talk about the SWOT analysis, the way you break it down is, and this is something you should actually write out so you can see it. So what is recommended is basically like if you draw a box, okay, make a box, and then you create 4 quarters, right? So 2 boxes on top, 2 squares on the bottom, right? So you draw a little T in the middle. And then the upper left is your strengths, the upper right is your weaknesses, the lower left are your opportunities, and the lower right are your threats. Okay, so SWOT, SWOT. Okay, now the two on the top, your strengths and your weaknesses, are what we call internal considerations, because your strengths and your weaknesses are talking about you. These are internal things, these are things about you and your company potentially. So if you're using the SWOT analysis for a company you've already created, then it's strength and weaknesses of your team, strength and weaknesses of the actual company. But if we're just talking about you as an individual, then it's your personal strengths and weaknesses. Okay. And by strengths, we mean exactly that. What are you good at? Are you a people person? You're good at connecting with people. You're good at networking. You're good at organization. Like these are all your strong suits. What is it that you're good at? You're good at writing music. You're good at performing. You're good at dancing. Um, and then, as far as the company is concerned, if we're going to talk about the strengths of a particular company, then the company's strengths may be that you have a solid team. Maybe the team really works well together. That same team that works well together could still potentially have some weaknesses, right? So that's what you're looking for strengths. Then on your weaknesses side, um, these could be things like you're bad at social media, you're not a good writer, and I don't mean songwriter. I just mean like maybe your grammar and your spelling are really bad. So maybe you're not the person who should be drafting content for your social media or your website. Maybe you're late all the time. You're a tardy person, and you have to work on it, or you get overwhelmed. Another weakness could be anxiety. Anything that could be a potential hindrance to the progression of the company or yourself. Back in October of 2021, I interviewed a gentleman named Matt Wallace. Matt Wallace is the manager of a artist named Jelly Roll out of Tennessee. And I had a great conversation with Matt. And one of the things that Matt was absolutely adamant about is that he does a weekly SWOT analysis on his company. And at first I was like, that seems a little excessive. But, for somebody who is not necessarily a one man machine, he's got a team of people. But when you want to make sure that you're staying on top of things and you're always in touch with what's going on with your company, I understand doing a weekly SWOT analysis. So think about what your strengths and your weaknesses are. And for a lot of people, this is an opportunity to really sit down and do a good introspective look at yourself. Like, okay, let me be honest with myself. Because another problem we run into, and Lennon can definitely uh, back me up on this, is that there are a lot of people, not naming any names, there are a lot of people in our industry that try to do everything themselves. And that's part of your weakness, is that you don't know how to delegate. And I think we've spoken about the ability, or we're going to, I can't remember. We talk about being able to delegate. That is so important. And that is a weakness for a lot of people who, they start these businesses and that's my baby. This is my, I started this thing and I don't want anybody to mess it up. Understood. But at the same time, you got to be able to, you can't be everywhere at once. And you got to learn how to build your team, and recognizing your own strengths and weaknesses are certainly a part of this process. So, you got any questions for me, Lennon? Anything you want to throw at me on that?
No, that's a really good point. And the episode that we talked about, that was the common mistakes one, because that is a common
Right.
mistake that musicians and artists and just business people in the music industry make, is they try to take on everything. Hell,
That's
I
right.
do it
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah,
I
I'm
have
guilty of it
troubles
too.
have troubles delegating, but it's very difficult to kind of let go of your baby and be like, here, kind of do this. It's like, well, it's not going to be up to my standard, and all these things run through your head. You've got to build that trust within yourself, that you're trusting that you're picking the right person to take on that task, and then you've got
Hmm.
to give them the trust and build that reputation
And
with
you
them.
really
So
have to be able to recognize what your needs are. I think that factors
yes.
into it. You know what I mean? A lot of people are like, oh, I can just do that myself, or I don't need that. I can just do X, Y, and Z. I think you need, when you hear yourself speaking that way, you need to catch yourself. That's a
Hmm.
moment where you really need to check yourself, because at that moment, to me, that is a bit of a toxic trait. I'm not saying it's bad all the time. There are going to be times where you're like, you know what, we can actually handle that ourselves, or I can do that myself. But if you're already wearing, no pun intended, multiple hats for your business, it may be time for you to step aside or delegate, or find someone else to do it. And it doesn't always have to be, because I know a lot of people are like, well, that's going to cost money. That's going to cost. Yeah, it might. Doesn't have to,
Hmm.
but it might. And if it's important to the growth of the business and the success of the business, you got to suck it up, put it on your budget and figure out how to pay for it. But
Yep.
if it's something you need to grow your business, or for your business to get to the next level, then you got to figure out how to make it work. Either bring somebody on board on the team that's good at it, and see if you can give them equity in the business if you don't have the money to pay them right now, you know?
Yep.
So it's a challenge, and I'm fully aware of it. I'm guilty of it myself. I run a few side businesses myself, and I'm like, I'm trying to do too much. Like,
Yep.
I need to find somebody to do X, Y, and that's, one of the things I'm actively doing right now, is looking for somebody who can be a partner with me in my business so I can better serve my clients. And I think that's another thing. I know we're talking about people in the music industry, but this isn't just artists and performers. This is also managers, agents, venues. Like, this is anybody in the music industry. And I know we're primarily speaking with artists at the moment, but honestly, anything you're trying to do in the industry, this is something you need to really think
Hmm.
about. So, what are
Hmm.
your strengths and what are your weaknesses? These are your two internal factors of your analysis.
Great. Yeah, I like that. And if you're starting to think of these things, that's why we're here to do the SWOT analysis. If you think that you've
Hmm.
got too much going on and you're not delegating and you're running into hiccups, sit down and do a SWOT analysis.
And
And you can do
it's
them in as quick as
really,
15 minutes.
yeah, I was just about to say it's not very time consuming. It's so funny how we think, oh, I don't have time. I don't have time. You got to make time for stuff like this. This is a necessary tool for doing business. And the other thing I would say is really sit down. And I think it may not be a bad idea to sit down with your best friend, somebody who knows you really well, so you don't lie to yourself.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
well, if you don't know how to hold yourself accountable, you need to have somebody else there that is not a yes man in your camp. That's one of the worst things you can have, is somebody who just
Uh-huh.
says yes to you all the time. Y'all need somebody who's going to give it to you for real. And so I think it's really necessary when you sit down to do this, when you start doing this for the first time, is that you have somebody near you who's going to be honest and be like, no, bro,
Yeah.
you're
Uh-huh.
not good at that. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to, once you do the SWOT analysis, make sure you hang it somewhere where you can see it. I
Mm.
think that's visually seeing your goals, visually seeing things that you have to work on. Like I have posters hanging up in my office and in my bedroom, the two places I spend most of my time. So I have to see it every day, and every day I hold myself accountable. I go, okay, what did I do to get closer to that goal? And I don't overwhelm yourself. I think we talked about this before.
Mhm.
Little nuggets. If you've got 20 things you want to accomplish, arrange them in order of your ability to achieve them. So the easiest things should go first, the ones you could just knock off the list. And then the things that are going to take a little bit longer, they go towards the bottom because you should be building towards those anyway. And then I just put 3 at a time. And as I reach a goal, I cross one off and I add a new one to the list. And you just
Mm.
keep it moving.
Yeah.
But you should do the same thing with your SWOT analysis. Like, because your
Yeah.
SWOT analysis is going to have a lot of stuff in each box,
Mhm.
you know?
I like what you said about time. A lot of people don't have time. They don't have time, but it's like, well, think about it. Do you have time to be wasting all of it on these other tasks? Like you're spending this time either way. Do you want to spend 15 minutes to do a SWOT analysis, or do you want to spend 45 minutes doing this mundane task that could be delegated to somebody else?
Right.
Just you
You,
have to.
you,
There's trade offs.
Like you're just sitting there watching a TV show. I mean, sit the piece of paper next to you, and then when it pops into your head, just grab the paper and write it down. You got time.
Yep. Yeah. You
You
got
got
time.
time.
You definitely have time.
For sure.
You definitely
All
have
right,
time.
so that's strength and weaknesses. You got anything? You got anything else for me for those before I go
No,
to? Okay.
I think those are good.
All right. So let's talk about opportunities and threats. Opportunities and threats are what we call external factors. And an opportunity could be something like a music conference, it could be a contest, it could be a songwriting contest, it could be a performance opportunity, open mic night. Um, an opportunity could be a local networking event, it could be a new bar opening in town or a new venue opening in town. Any opportunity that gives you a chance to move forward, get your business out there, get yourself out there, network with people, like whatever. um, those are the things that you should be looking forward for, or looking for in the opportunities box.
Mm,
And then threats are interesting. Threats could be a lot of things. Threats could be something like technology,
mm,
some sort of change in technology. Another threat, the coronavirus, right? Things that are completely out of your control. Threat could be competition in the market. Maybe a new company opened up nearby that's doing the same thing that you're doing. Um, a threat could be a secret got out. Maybe one of your trade secrets got out. I mean, a threat could be a lot of things, all sorts of things. But these are typically external, like I said. So these are things outside of the company, not necessarily within your control, but things that may have an effect. And here's what you do. I have a oops, I have a thing that I do now. Like I try to catch myself. I try to be really mindful of it. I try not to, especially when I'm talking about business, I try
Mm,
not to say problem. I try not to say something's a problem. I try to call it a challenge because challenges are things that we overcome. When people use the term problem, in my opinion, it becomes a very defeatist kind of mentality. You say it's a
mhm.
problem and you already kind of go, well, I can't fix it.
Yeah.
That's a problem, but I feel like if we say challenge, then that becomes okay, challenge accepted. Let's figure
Mhm.
out let's figure out how we're going to overcome this. And I think a lot of businesses had to do that when the coronavirus hit. So they were like, all right, we don't want to shut down. This coronavirus is a challenge. What do we do? So businesses had to come up with another revenue stream for themselves. The music industry as a whole, the film industry. So what did they do? They started creating more content to put out on social media, streaming services, streaming movies to make up for people not going to the movie theater. Like there is a way to overcome your challenges. So let's not call the threats problems, let's call them challenges.
Mhm.
And I think that encourages the behavior to try to fix it or come up
Mm,
with a solution, and
mhm.
rely on your team. Don't try to sit there and, when this is, again, this goes back to what we were saying about people who don't know how to delegate. Um, it become you wear a lot of the weight on your shoulders when you don't give your team an opportunity to actively participate in what the business needs. Or you may have some very creative people on your team. Give them a chance to give you some input. So
Mhm.
when the business is going through some struggles, be transparent with your team about, hey guys, this is what we're facing. Who's got an idea? Because now you're sharing that responsibility with your team. They feel more part of the process. But when you act like I'm in charge, this is my responsibility, you stress yourself out and you start to become a problem yourself to
Yep.
the rest of the team and the success of the business. So when
Yep.
you have something that's listed as a threat, and I think it's a good idea to actually, if you do this on a weekly basis, make this a team meeting. Every
Oh.
Wednesday, y'all meet in your conference room or wherever, and y'all put your SWOT board up and go, here are our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that we are facing as of today. Some may carry over from the previous week. Some y'all may have, and I think it's also good to share successes with the group. So when a threat is gone, you address that. Hey guys, remember we talked about this? We fixed it. Way to go, team. You cross it off, and everybody feels like they're accomplishing things as a
Mhm.
group.
I
But
love that.
ultimately, at the end of the day, things are getting done, and that's what you need. Things need to be
Yeah.
getting done, you know?
Yeah. I
So I
love that.
think that's pretty crucial.
Uh-huh. I love that. And I love the challenges instead of problems. I think
Yeah.
that's a
I
kind of
catch myself. Sometimes I hear myself saying problem. I'm like, nope, it's a challenge.
no, it's a challenge. Yep, it kind of reframes your thinking about it too.
Yes.
Your
Yes.
brain approaches a challenge differently than a problem. So
Yes. Yep.
it's in that
100%.
very, very interesting, very, very cool insight there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we did strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Is there anything additional to a SWOT analysis, or is it literally just that? I feel like it's missing something.
I think that's it. What are we missing?
Wow. No, I was just thinking like SWOT. It's that simple.
It's that simple. It really, and that's the thing. Like we as human beings, we tend to overcomplicate things. We make things
Yeah.
so much harder than they really are. And
Yeah.
it goes back to our mentality. It's not that difficult. We're making it difficult because it scares us, because it may be stressing us out a little bit, but it really is that simple. And the thing I like about the SWOT analysis is that it breaks things up. So you're not
Mm,
looking at this massive pile of, oh my gosh, where do I start? It's already broken up. Now you approach things you know, as needed. And you can approach one thing in the strengths, one thing in the weakness, one thing, you know, get it together. You know, what one of your weaknesses could be, okay, our team is not meshing. So maybe what you need to do is create a team building experience once a month for your people. Go out and have a picnic, something that's going to make people work together as a team, you know?
Mm, yeah.
But we just make things seem so much harder than they are. And if you just approach it, and I'm guilty of it too, you know,
Same.
I'm practicing what I preach. You know, I
Mm,
sit down and I go, I'm a list person to begin with. And it's not even just about the SWOT analysis. It's just, let me make a list of the things that are stressing me out. Let me put it on paper so I can see it. It's kind of
mhm.
like you're literally confronting the challenge. I
Yep.
almost said problem. you
Caught
literally
yourself.
confront you're literally confronting what it is. You're looking it spot on, head on, and you're going, okay, I see you. Now I'm going to deal with you, you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm.
And so I think it's all about retraining the way that we think.
Mm,
You retrain the way that it's just like, you know, there's that diet program out there, Noom, right? Their
hmm.
whole program and their philosophy is about how you think about food and what you're doing when you're eating. We got to do the same thing with every other aspect of our life. What what is creating this struggle for me? Why is this such a problem for me? And that's what we don't do. I hate to turn this into like a psychology class, but it's the truth. You know,
Yeah.
we are so used to trying to deal with things on the surface that we don't get to the root of the problem. You got to start at the root, so the problem and the challenge does not return, or you know how to deal with it if it does. You
Hmm.
know.
So for me, a question, since I like to make things more complicated than they really are, and I'm sure a lot of people do,
I'm
how
guilty.
how detailed or how specific does the SWOT analysis need to be? Like when you write down a strength, do you need to write down, oh, my strength is trying to think of a good example, or let's say like a weakness. My
Hmm.
weakness is YouTube. Well, what about YouTube? Do you
Right.
write creating content, or can you be that generic, or how specific should it be?
No, you definitely need to be specific because you need to really see what the challenge is in its totality, you know?
Mm,
So because if you're including your team on that, the team needs to understand what that is. And if you're vague about it, it doesn't help. So
mm,
yes, you should definitely be detailed for sure.
okay.
And that's why I said it's going to look like there's a lot in these boxes,
Yeah.
but you know, that's because you need to be detailed. So thank you for asking
Okay.
that. Absolutely. You do. Don't just make bullet points. It
Yeah.
needs to have some detail to it so you can really see what the issue is so you can figure out how to address it, you know?
Okay.
So with social media, it can be you can't just put I'm not good at social media. Well, what does that mean? That means
Yeah.
I'm not posting consistently. I'm not creating, I don't know how to create engaging content. That's the kind of stuff you should, you know, spell it out. Spell it
Yeah.
out for sure.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That makes it more specific when you say
Yeah.
Instagram. Well, are you not good at logging into Instagram? Do you not know how to use the platform? Do you not know
Right.
how to create content? Do you not know how to
Right.
engage on the platform? There's
Do you not know how to use
four
your analytics?
Do you not know how to use analytics? Do you not know how to read analytics? Like there's 5, 6, 10 other questions that get
Hmm.
asked. So being specific, I don't understand Instagram analytics.
And that's
Perfect.
good. Yeah. And that's good because then if it turns out that you actually need to outsource something that's on that list, now you're being really specific to the person you need to communicate with, and they don't have to ask you a million questions because you're being very detailed. Hey, I
Mm,
need a social media manager because I am not posting consistently. I don't know how to create engaging content, and I don't understand how to interpret my analytics to reach my audience. That's
mhm.
very specific. And that's
Yeah.
something that a social media manager can go, okay, cool. I know exactly how to help you. Let me go
Yep.
look at your channels.
Yep.
So yeah,
Exactly.
the detail is definitely that's definitely something you should think about when you're writing it. So no just no bullet points. Have some what's the word I'm looking for? Some meat and potatoes.
Yeah. Have some meat and potatoes with your SWOT analysis.
Yeah. Give
Cool.
it some
Uh,
detail.
yeah, give it some detail. That's pretty much all we have. The SWOT analysis, like Mo said, is that's it. There's really not anything more to it. It's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And don't make it
And
more
are we going to
complicated
have a
than it is.
template down under our thing here?
Yeah, we could draft up a template, a sheet that you can use and print out or save to your computer as a PDF and edit it in Adobe or whatever, and do it that way.
Hmm.
That's a good thing to kind
Yeah,
of get
we'll help you
started.
guys out.
Yeah, we'll help you out. So the next episode that we're gonna do is on SMART goals, which kind of
Oh,
sets hand in hand. So we'll have the ability to talk about setting SMART goals, SMART.
yes.
So Mo and hopefully Rob will be on next week as well to talk about these. Because as a business owner, it'll be interesting to hear what his SMART goals have been over the
Hmm.
years.
And
Um,
how it's used for marketing.
yes.
Um, that's very important for an artist. If you're releasing a new album, if you're releasing a single, if you're releasing a video, making sure that's those SMART goals are very helpful for
Hmm.
organizing, for sure. And it's definitely something you need for marketing.
Yes.
Hmm.
Absolutely. So tune in next week. Thank you all for joining. Be sure to follow us on social media. You can follow us on jamvana.com. Our socials are linked there, but Jamvana on Twitter, Jamvana on YouTube, Jamvana on Facebook. LinkedIn is the same way. We're kind of all over the place. So follow us wherever you listen to podcasts as well. And leave that rating, 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever.
And don't forget to hit subscribe and like and follow us on all of our platforms. And if
Yeah.
you guys need to reach out to us, all you got to do is just message us and we will get back to you.
Yes, absolutely. So thanks again, and we will see you next week on the Vana Room.
Bye.